We are at the Port Dover Harbour Museum, right down at the water in lovely Port Dover. At the Port Dover Museum, we'd like to tell the history of the commercial fishing industry in Port Dover and on Lake Erie, as well as the history of the town of Port Dover. At one time, the commercial fishing fleet in Port Dover was the largest freshwater fishing fleet in the world. The fishing community plays such a huge part in Port Dover in the past and still today. We love to work with the local fishing community. They come in and they'll help us with any research projects or events that we have going on. And we love to tell their story too. So it's really important to have those family members and people that are still involved in the community come and tell us their story so that we can give the community the best version of the story. What I really like about the Port Dover Museum is it's so unique in Norfolk County. Port Dover has its own history, and we like to tell it here. It has to do with the water, the ecosystem, the fishing industry, the heroines of the lake, and the shipwrecks that are at the bottom of the lake. And you can't get that anywhere else in Norfolk County. We've just recently put in an exhibit on the bathing houses that were on the Port Dover beach, and that was really the start of the tourism industry in Port Dover. You used to be able to come and rent a bathing suit for the day, and that seems unusual now, but back then you didn't have your own bathing suit, so you had to go and rent one for the day or purchase your own, and they were rather expensive at the time. So we had bathing houses where you could change into your bathing suit for the day, and then at the end of the day you'd give it back, and the next person would get it, and it would still be wet. When we have kids visit, we have an amazing sturgeon up on our wall that was created using pieces of garbage from the beach. We have a scavenger hunt that the kids can use. They can find the sturgeon and they can find the different pieces of garbage as a scavenger hunt. And that's really a relatable way to teach the kids about the garbage that is on our beach and in our water. My name is Katie Graham, and I'm the assistant curator at the Port Dover Harbour Museum.
I started out as a boy at age 12 on the boat, and my dad's boat. That's pretty well how a lot of guys get started, is you're coerced into wanting to stick with your dad. By the time I got out of high school, I wasn't too bad at what I fishing, so I decided I better stick with it. The day starts early. We leave the dock at 5 o'clock exactly. We go out an hour or so, pull our nets, pick the fish out, set them back in by 1 if you're lucky. And that's basically how it works, day after day after day. Patience is a virtue, really, they say about fishing. Nasty weather you have to deal with. And I think if you're used to being outside a lot, no matter what comes at you, and you're happy to be there, then I think that makes a big difference. You have to also be optimistic about things, right? You can't get down on things because there's some times there that things just don't go very well. And you got to stay positive. There will come a day, and that won't be maybe too far off, when there really won't be any commercial fishing in this harbor. This boat right here, right, might be the last one in Port Dover. It's going to happen. Captains and people involved in the industry are just getting older. It's become an old man's job. The museum is very important. The things that are in that museum, I work with some of these guys. It's a connection. And I've heard all the stories when I was a kid. When I walk in there, it is kind of like going down memory lane for me. George Gibbons, lifelong commercial fisherman.
This is Backus Heritage Conservation Area. and this is the Backhouse Historic Site. So we are a museum with a lot of historic buildings. And behind me here is the 1798 Backhouse Grist Mill, National Historic Site. I think this is such an amazing place because we have such a wealth of experiences. So you can go hiking, you can go fishing, you can explore these historic buildings. This is the Cherry Valley Schoolhouse, and it is one of the coolest buildings here because it is one of only maybe 2 octagonal one-room schoolhouses that was ever built in Ontario, and we have one here at Backus. And it is used by all of our field trips, so every school class that comes to see us gets to partake in an 1860s school lesson. And we run this for family visitors in the summers as well. It is so fascinating hearing from our visitors, whether they had family that were tied to the site before, they find an artifact in the displays that came from their family, or even people visiting, say, the homestead where it's set up like a house, and recognizing pieces that their grandparents they used when they were younger, and just getting that connection to a piece of history, but it's also a piece of memory and a piece of your own life. And so it's just absolutely fascinating when we have visitors come up and tell us those stories. I think it's so fun. It's what brings a museum to life, and it makes it so interesting. Makes me so happy to hear about these experiences and help families have these experiences, because it is great to get multiple generations together, grandparents, parents, children in, to have a really fun day, and you can share your experiences. Our stories are our roots. How do we know where we came from? And it really informs how are we going forwards, is to know your roots, where you came from. So that is why museums and historic sites like this one are so important, to understand where we came from, understand the good and the bad in our history so that we can learn from it and continue to move forward. So we are within a conservation area, and we look at the farming practices that used to take place in Norfolk County and in this region, how we've learned the soil is very sandy here in Norfolk County. When we plow the topsoil away, we end up with just sand, and that blows away. And now we've learned from that practice, we farm differently. But without keeping that information preserved, we wouldn't know that. I'm Helen Bartons. I'm the curator here at the Backhouse Historic Site.
We have so much to learn from the environment around us. And so that's what we want to do. We really want to grasp the hearts and the minds of all of our visitors and help to spark an appreciation for the natural world, for the environment, its uniqueness and its importance in all of our lives. You know, this is actually my 11th summer working with the authority, and when you see a family just having so much joy being out in the environment and being here, it is really fulfilling. It's the best part of the job, is to connect with people. And when you actually see them be amazed by a snapping turtle in the pond, or just feel so connected, it really makes you feel good. It makes you feel fulfilled, and that's definitely the best part of our job. Our slogan, where history meets nature, it's a place that you can understand the connection between our environment and our history, and how we are part of the environment here. Just from looking at the mill, for example, why it was located here was because of the way that the water flowed. Our watershed plays such an important impact in our lives. My name is Brandon Good. I'm the Superintendent of Conservation Areas for Long Point Region Conservation Authority.
The basis of Norfolk's history is agriculture, of course. That ties into many different elements, lumber. There's a reason that Norfolk County has been designated the forest capital of Canada 2 years in a row, in 2007 through 2009. The forests are incredibly important to the area. There's tremendous stewardship involved, and they've been incorporated, the history of that and the archives, into our Norfolk County museums for preservation and also as an educational component. So we have social history, which is a big component. It speaks a little bit about what's in town, and then the more rural areas and the hamlet areas. And they get to learn about the ways of the past. The museum is home to the Norfolk County Agricultural Hall of Fame. Each year we highlight important groups and individuals that have played a significant role in the agricultural foundations of Norfolk County, and we highlight their stories. Our museum was in fact the canning factory, the largest at one point in all of Canada. We're right on the Nanticoke Creek, which started the whole grist mill, sawmill industry. And of course, when the railroad came through, that was a huge economic boom for the community. During the height, there was about 6 trains every 10 minutes through town. So it was huge. You can get on a train at the train station here and go virtually anywhere across North America. It was a huge link. It doesn't resemble anywhere near what Waterford used to be in the 1890s through to the 1930s and 40s. It's changed quite a bit. Nanticoke Creek is key to the founding of Waterford. Of course, you need the water to run the grist mills and the lumber mills. There's a reason Waterford is called Waterford, because of the whole creek system. It's the vein that runs through this part of the county and straight on to Lake Erie. So that's a huge importance to why Waterford was settled. And most of the wooded areas that are along the Heritage Trail system didn't exist. It was wide open. So it's certainly not some place that you wanted to come with your family and picnic and participate in the various activities that happen along the water today. I'm James Christensen. I'm the curator at Waterford Heritage and Agriculture.